All right, so real quickly, which I don't know how quickly it's actually going to be, I want to talk to everybody about how one of my kids, my youngest kid, he just recently ended up going to live with traffickers. Um, I want to say that I made plenty of reports. The reports that I actually began to make to try to prevent this happening to him, I would begin making those reports when I was 33 years old. And then since then, within the last few years, since things got a lot more serious, I went all the way from New York to Canyon, Texas, or Amarillo, Texas, to my hometown where the family is. I still had my kid at the time. And I showed up there and I let them know that my family, that they were traffickers, that they were illegal pornographers and exploiters, that they had been catfishing me and that they had been trying to develop a catalog of photos and videos of me, which they were having the people around me take secretly, or you know what I mean? And hang on, sorry. They would be like they would pretend to be all these different people on Messenger and online, and they'd be like hitting me up, asking for pictures of me and asking for videos of me. And I would know that it was my own family. I was really disturbed, especially because I thought that it was my own dad that was asking for the pictures and videos. And it did deeply disturb and upset me for quite a while. Almost everything that would happen, I would think that it was my parents doing it, because when I was so little, that was all that I knew, was that my parents were doing it. And because I never saw them get caught, and I never watched their attitudes or behavior improve from that same weirdness, well, anyways, they taught the next generation to perform the same crimes that they had so easily been getting away with. And I know that you guys have heard me explain some of it, like, about the trafficking network in Amarillo that my dad told me about whenever I was a kid. I'll just go over that one more time. When I was a kid in Amarillo, my dad was part of a child trafficking pornography network, I guess, and he would tell me that about how they all, which he wouldn't say him, he would say they, you know what I mean? But he knew about it because he was the one doing it. He would say that they all met online and that they would all let each other know where to go pick each other's kids up at, like what park that they like to play at, or, which friend's house they would be leaving from so that they could get picked up off the street and things like that. And basically these guys would send all these other guys to meet their wives, meet their kids, meet their moms, meet their whoever in their family. So, and at the point that I actually did have to go complain about my family in person, it was after some human sacrifices. And the way that I found out that my family was in part behind those human sacrifices was because I called my grandmother after I ran away from West Virginia, which is the state that they had them in. I called my grandmother to ask her for help, and she was so upset. She was so upset that I'd actually called her, that I wasn't dead yet. She was like, oh my God. She just went absolutely ballistic. She was like, I cannot believe that you're calling me, and like hung up on me and stuff like that. And it really was an emergency situation. I mean, I just had to flee from West Virginia with my little boy after they had the most heinous homicides that I've ever experienced or heard in my entire life. Like, I've never heard of anything that severe in a book. You guys never showed me a movie that was that traumatic in all my life. That was hands down one of the most top, if not the most traumatizing experience of my entire life. And, I had to run with my little kid because I was worried that they were going to try to do the same thing to us. Obviously they're trying to do the same thing to us. And I call my grandmother for help. And you should have heard her. I know that the feds heard her, so they can continue to play if they want. So I knew right off the bat that my family was behind that, but I ended up after a while, I made it out to this gal's house where we were kept for months, for at least 6 months. And while we were kept there, I made sure that I put my kid in school and stuff like that, because I knew that the whole time that they'd been trying to get my little boy, and this extends back to even to the day that he was born, they've been trying to get my little boy. It's been a really weird state of affairs, you guys. But, they finally have him now. But it took almost a decade for them to finally get him from me. And I want you to know, like, just the great lengths, and, just everything that I did to try to make sure that my little boy didn't end up with these pedophiles and sex offenders, and child sex traffickers and pornographers, and he ended up there anyways. One of the places that I tried to make reports to was Texas Child Protective Services. I made at least 3 or 4 reports to Child Protective Services in that state alone, and in the other states that he's in, or that he was in. I did the same thing. I made all of those reports. I made reports over and over again, at least 3 or 4 times, called and wrote to, called Child Protective Services. I tried to call the police. I tried to make reports to the police. Like I said, I've made reports over and over again to the police. I've made reports to the FBI. And my kid still ended up there. I even wrote in great detail, in heavy detail, very detailed accounts. Then I've discovered that my family secretly had guardianship or conservatorship over me, which is how I guess people are pretending that they've been legally allowed to stalk and pursue me, take pictures of me and sell them, break into all of my accounts, receive Social Security and annuity checks in my name behind my back, put me in a false marriage with someone who I haven't even seen in like over 20 years. Yeah, they stole my identity, and then they pursued me across the nation, stalking my kid and I, reporting us to Child Protective Services and calling the law on us everywhere that they went. Like, they did as much as they could, and then they were finally able to get my kid. And they actually have him right now. After all of the reports that I've made, after everything that I've done, I even spent over 2 years writing every single day that I could, which is almost every single day out of over 2 years. There were a couple times that I was hijacked and held hostage and not allowed to use the phone or internet, which is something that they do. There's several different things that they don't allow me to do. Like, I'm not allowed to get a haircut unless I develop the money myself and have someone take me to a hairstylist or to somewhere to get my haircut, and I'm willing to pay over $30 for the haircut or whatever, then I'm allowed to get the haircut. Or if I do it myself, they would rather me do it myself because they know that I don't know how to cut hair very well. So like, even if like, I'm like, oh, I really need a haircut and it's only, and I'm like asking the people around me for help, somebody could be loaded with $20,000 and they know better than to help me get my haircut because it's against the rules. So like I have to figure out how to raise money and figure out anything like that that is going to improve anything for me. I basically have to figure out how to go and beg or figure out how to get the money for some way or another, clean things, sell paintings, clean bathtubs, clean poop out of people's garages. And then definitely whenever it comes to my phone bill, people don't really care that if I have a phone bill paid. They have like at different times like gone out of their way to make sure that I just don't have a phone, or that there's a good bit of time in between, you know, the time that it shuts off and the time that it gets paid for again. Which, being out on the streets, generally I can panhandle enough to do that and not have to worry about it. But then whenever I am stuck with any of the traffickers or any of the bad guys or whatever, I have to depend on them a little bit more. Not really, but sort of for certain aspects of things. I mean, I don't have to. It's kind of difficult to explain a little bit. My family, beginning with my parents, have basically had me trafficked and exploited my entire life, which I discuss in a video that I made months and months ago, back while I was still making reports, thinking that I would be able to prevent my little boy from ending up with pedophiles and sex traffickers, and people who commit and perform satanic ritual abuses. And actually, something really weird about him supposedly going with my sister is that they had a hearing. My fake lawyer, her name is Catherine Grausakas. She is one of the sex traffickers. She is one of the people who is actively part of a murder for hire campaign against me. And she has worked with all of those people to make sure that my kid ended up with pedophile sex traffickers and exploiters. She is a heavy part of the game. She doesn't even try to hide it. And I've made at least 3 reports to the what's it called? The legal board about her. And I've also had to make complaints about other court-appointed child and mom trafficking attorneys that they have given me. So far, they've given me at least, there was a lady to begin with, Connie, I think was her name. I'm not sure, but that was the first child trafficking attorney that they gave me. And then they gave me Dale Johnson or Johnston of Four Corners Law, also a child trafficking and human trafficking attorney. If these people decided to work with the feds and give them information, I'm not sure if that's a thing happening or not. I don't care. You're still traffickers. I wouldn't give you any excuses or make any excuses for you or give you any leeway, because the kids still ended up with traffickers anyways. So as far as I'm concerned, it's an epic fail on everyone's part. And it doesn't really matter who spoke up and acted like they were trying to help, if anybody ever spoke up and was trying to help at all ever, which I doubt at this point that they really were, because I'm sure that real feds who are trying to actually prevent a kid from going to sex traffickers would have been on that shit, which is not what happened in this situation at all. So I'm not really sure. Like, it kind of seems like the feds are also part of the child sex trafficking ring. But if they're not, I would hope that like somebody would show me that by maybe like removing my kid from the sex trafficking house. I don't appreciate everyone just ignoring me this whole time and just allowing him to go there, especially after 2 years. I mean, 2 years of, can you imagine waking up every single day wondering, how can I save my kid today? Is there anything that I can do? Not that I can do that every single day because of the circumstances that you guys had me in, but almost every single day, every morning I wake up and I'm like, my kid, is he okay? How can I save my kid? And for you guys to know that somebody is going through that, and that the only problem is that their, child pornography family has them in an a fraudulent conservatorship and that they've stolen their identity and has them in a fraudulent marriage and all this. Like, I don't understand how you're able to use the excuse that other people committed crimes to not go in and save a child. That to me is just completely, that's the weirdest excuse that I've ever heard in my whole life. Now, that you guys and your bureaucratic paperwork and computer systems and all of that and your fraudulent identity, whatever, that all of that is too complicated for you to be able to go in and save a kid. That does not make sense to me. Yeah, so since there's no one for me to actually make reports to, this is my report that I'm making to the public, to the whole world, to the entire universe, to everyone. This is my report to you because there's apparently no one for me to make reports to. And the reason why they're going to pretend, I guess, that I'm not allowed to make reports is because I'm in on all these research projects, or that someone else is fraudulently using my identity, or that someone else has fraudulent guardianship over me, and that they've marked me as disabled or handicapped or mentally ill, or schizophrenic or bipolar. Because see, you guys have told me a couple different things now. My dad, you guys actually had my dad tell me that you guys, that I was bipolar, and that's why why I guess I don't deserve to live a real life. And then this worker just told everybody in this court hearing that I actually have schizophrenia, and that my dad says that I was diagnosed with schizophrenia when I was 16 years old. So, I mean, I've never heard of it before, but apparently people who have schizophrenia, or people who are recipients of Social Security checks, apparently those people aren't allowed to make police reports. Apparently they're not allowed to make sexual assault and sexual harassment reports. In this situation, these people were actually able to get me pregnant by someone who I still don't know, who they never gave me the name of the guy. And, you know, I had the kid, and that's the kid that they took away. So, and like Child Protective Services, in at least one state, in two different states, basically didn't tell me the name of my kid's dad, but Child Protective Services in this state, they actually took a blood test, and they told me that the kid's dad was not his dad. So they actually had Tim Strother who lying, saying that he was my kid's dad this whole time, because he let whoever that is that's really the dad in the room to apparently get me pregnant. And when I turned around, because I thought that there was like something weird going on, I turned around and there was nobody there. There was literally, I couldn't see anyone there. And it's not because nobody was there. I think that they were using one of those fucking cloak shield sheets or whatever. Anyways, I looked behind me and no one was there. So yeah, and so apparently if you're mentally ill, or you have schizophrenia, or people are fraudulently have guardianship over you, that means that they can get you pregnant by whoever they want and make you like a surrogate mother for them, and then chase you down and take your baby away. Because it's not really your baby, it's their baby. Because when someone has fraudulent guardianship over you, it means that everything of yours is theirs. It means that if you enter your information on a federal website, it means that they can hack, that they actually have the right to hack into that federal database, and find out what it was that, you know, whatever report it was that you made. Because they have full rights and ownership over you as a human. You are a slave to anyone who has guardianship over you. They can harass you and your kids however they want. They can force you to have children by people that you don't know, and no one ever has to answer for that. Even if they use Child Protective Services to take your child away, Child Protective Services never has to tell you who your child's dad is, and they can actually just go ahead and send your kid to the very dad who got you pregnant to begin with, and you don't ever even have to know anything about it. It can all just be a big secret from you. And while they had me, oh yeah, I forgot to say that Catherine Grausakas, my child and mommy trafficking attorney, she sent me a link to the court hearing um, to, you know, show up by video, to participate by video. But the link she sent me was broken. She sent me a deliberately broken link months and months ahead of time so that I wouldn't be able to see the face of the woman who says that she's my sister. But I did hear her voice. I cannot tell you that that was actually my little sister. It did not sound like my little sister at all. And they were, in fact, calling her Miss Cross, which is what they call me. And she sounded a lot like me. So it was really weird. And if she's married to a guy named Williams, then why are you guys calling her Miss Cross over and over again? Why are you guys referring to her as me? I can't see her face. You guys didn't let me see her face. She sounds exactly like me. So I'm not sure that they didn't switch my sister out or that someone else didn't show up to court to pretending to be my sister. I can't tell you whether or not my sister Cassidy is still alive, and if she is, she sounds like she has been smoking for the last 80 years. Um, I'm really, and that her voice is completely changed from the feminine voice that she had her whole life to a voice that sounds a little bit more like mine. So I can't even tell you who they actually have my kid with. They named the name of the dude that they have my kid with. I've never met that dude. I wasn't sure. I didn't even know that that guy was still part of the picture anymore. They asked him what his first name was twice, and they said yes to two different first names. So I guess that he's living with the guy that has two different first names. That's weird. So yeah, nobody could be clear about who the kid even lives with now. That's kind of concerning to me. I called Adult Protective Services and let them know that apparently people have guardianship over me and have since I was 16 years old, I guess. I was trying to let them know that if these people actually do have guardianship over me, that I am complaining about adult abuse, that this is really serious. These people did have human sacrifices and ran me out of the town and the apartment that I paid $1,000 a month for. And they chased me across the United States with my little boy. They held us hostage places. We even began to starve in these places that they would hold us hostage. Like, it was really bad. We were chased all across the United States. People would just play in our faces by going into our hotel rooms or wherever we stayed along the way and placing toys and artifacts basically from the house that we were just in to let them know that they were following us. They were basically, I guess, that they would tell the people around me that I had amnesia and that one of them was my husband or something, and that they were just following us around, checking on us, and would apparently say things like, would you just let me go spend some time and lay down with my wife and shit like that. Like, apparently this is stuff that they were doing. And telling all these people that they have conservatorship over me. And then they've also done a lot to put a lot of things in my food and drink along the way. And they've worked a lot with people who work in restaurants and traffickers and all these different people to have me poisoned. I've even just been poisoned within the last week. About a week ago, I ate from a restaurant that's in Westernport, Maryland, where they definitely poisoned me. I'm still getting over it. My kidneys were darn near shut down. It made my entire, my back flanks locked up really bad. I'm starting to get over it. This is what they do to me all across the United States. It's really horrible. I guess there's a few people in my family who are involved in the CIA, the NSA, the FBI, and all that. So, and they're also in the Freemasons and Eastern Stars. And then they also have connections with white supremacy gangs and all these other gangs. So I have to deal with them harassing me and having me harassed and having horrible, treacherous, terrible things happen to me all across the United States. And literally only by the grace of God am I still here and alive right now. I promise you that. All the places that they have chased me to and had me trafficked to, I've had to be really, really smart and call on the good Lord to help me out of almost every single situation, almost every single place that I end up in. I literally have to ask God how to help me get out of. And I've been to hundreds of places. And most of the places that they send me are, of course, all of these people are part of a trafficking network, a human and child trafficking network. So the whole time that I've been pushed out here on the streets and that I've been like trying to speak up and save my kid's life, they've pushed me through this trafficking network where I've had to watch all of these other little kids be hurt and walk in on their parents hurting them, and have to listen to these women get raped downstairs, in the shower while their fucking organs are about to be cut out of them and shit like that, and watch these women be carried around in sleeping bags that are going to be used as body bags. I'm sorry, I'm not gonna watch my mouth about it this time, guys. This is really bad. And the whole time I've spoken up about it online, I didn't really try to put it in video format because I didn't really want for the whole world to know how bad this was. I thought that this was a situation wherein people made some really serious mistakes, and that other federal agents were going to have to get a hold of things and get a handle on it. Otherwise, it was going to get out of control, way more out of control, and that way more kids and people were going to get hurt. But that never happened. And as I've gone through, I've only just been, I went through having to experience human sacrifices. Not only did no one do anything about that, but then I have to travel the whole United States and listen to you guys hurt people everywhere else I go, and all the other people who are getting hurt because you guys couldn't bust the whole trafficking ring to begin with. Like I was in a house where I listened to a woman and a baby be hurt upstairs in what is supposed to be a soundproof attic, but it's not that soundproof. It was pretty soundproof though. I just barely heard it. If it weren't for the baby crying really loud or the woman screaming really loud, I would not have heard them. And that was in a nice house too. That wasn't even in one of the crummy places that they send me to, because they try to usually make sure that I only stay in really crummy, very low end, the most low end places that they could possibly put somebody in. Yeah, and my brothers and sisters were getting apartments all around me ever since I've been getting apartments, basically. And I was wondering who that was, who was in those apartments around me, like who was occupying them, because everyone would work together, including whoever lived in that apartment. They would all work together to make sure that I never saw who lived upstairs and that I never saw who lived in the apartment beside me. Like, it was serious. A lot of people had to work together really specially to make sure that I never saw the person living right next door to me. And that was like my own sister, who I'm pretty sure has my kid now. They would live beside me and they would go in and out of my apartments. They would send people to me. They would catfish me online. They would have all these different people catfishing me. They would come into my apartment and be taking pictures of my kids and I, pictures and videos, I guess, of my kids and I. At different times, they were actually riding in the same vehicle with me, and I was not aware of that. And that apparently happened several times. That these people actually did have access to invisibility suits, apparently, and they were using them to do all kinds of heinous things. And that's the only mention that I'm going to make of the invisibility suits, which are a real thing that you can look up online. It is something that even civilians can order now, these sheets for invisibility. So you're not going to fucking try to tell me that I'm crazy. It's fucking really irritating. So anyways, yeah, because they've had access to all of this military and federal, gear and computer, whatever. And it's just been absolutely horrible, you guys. But like I was saying, like just the other day, I was trying to make a report online they hacked into the federal database that it's an adult reporting services. They hacked into that. They kicked me out of what I was, they kicked me out of the report that I was making. They changed my username and password. So it went from me making it, you know, the name that I gave it. They changed it to the name that I gave it plus a comma plus the first name, you know what I mean, and whatever else. And you know, it's absolutely disgusting that they're able to just hijack reports while I'm making them. And then I called the police in Amarillo and I began to tell them, hey, like, is there any way that you guys could do something about this? Like, I asked her outright, I even recorded this. Can I press charges? Is this a crime for the bitch to break into a federal database while I'm filling out information about her to see what I'm saying about her? Is that a crime? Can I make the report here? She tells me yes. Then somebody calls her and keeps her on hold for a really long time. And then she gets off the phone and she begins to pretend and play in my face that she is a dispatcher and not a non-emergency report taker, which is who I called. And she tells me that I need to make the report here instead. And this is this thing that they'll do whether I call the police or show up in person or if I call the FBI or whatever. What they'll do is they'll just say, we need you to call and talk. We need you to tell the next person. We need you to tell the next person. We need you to tell the next person. We need you to tell the, we need you to just tell the next, we need to tell somebody else. Here's a quarter. Call somebody who cares. Why don't you tell the next person? Tell somebody else. Tell somebody else until nobody has taken the report. So that's been really awesome too. So yeah. Yeah, huge reports. And when you make reports to the Texas Child Protective Services, they let you fill out a great deal of information. Same thing with Adult Protective Services. It's a great deal of information to be filled out. And unfortunately for me, it was a great deal of information for everyone else to ignore several times over. And then I guess that they thought that by saying this, that they were going to get me to shut up. But they tried to say that because of all the false reports that I have made, that they've had to send the FBI in to talk to my little boy and to teach him about sex so that they could ask him if he got hurt. Great. So basically they're saying that the FBI actually did go in and could have rescued my kid, but they chose to play instead. So that's been really cool to hear about that. Just because you guys tell me that federal agents went in and questioned my kid and that I'm such a bad mother for making such serious false reports about sex crimes, and that the FBI has to go in and explain to my kid what sex even is and what a terrible mother that I am for that. Yeah, that's the kind of shit that they fucking told me at this fucking court hearing. Yeah, so like the whole time that I'm trying to make reports, and I already know this, that like that they have access to my phone and that they're hacking my phone and all of this, while everybody else already knows that too. So it's like, why is the kid with my family who you guys know are hackers, you guys know are exploiters? Look, they actually like went in with CPS, right? They had my kids taken from me for 2.5 years, and this was okay, so it's been 3 years since they ran me out of town, which was right after they gave my kid back. So this would have been the 3 years before that, okay? They actually worked with Child Protective Services to keep my kid out of my apartment for nearly the entire 2.5 years because they had cameras in my apartment. They were live streaming me. They had me live streaming to what I'm told OnlyFans, and they had me live streamed on the dark web. And so they worked with CPS to make sure that my kids didn't actually get any home visits. They actually only got like 2 or 3, maybe 5 home visits before they actually moved back in with me. And they were all very brief. And, somebody had to be sent in to adjust or take down the cameras and stuff, they would make sure that they scheduled things really far in advance. I'll just apologize now for losing my temper because, of course, if someone loses their temper, it must mean that, that they need someone to have a legal conservatorship over them because, of course, none of you parents would lose your temper if anyone did anything like this to you. Also, these people have, they actually stole my little boy's birth certificate and social security card right after he was born. I'm not sure if they pulled life insurance policies out on him, but they definitely pulled life insurance policies out on me. I'm told that they have about 5 of them on me, and that they actually had me killed in one state and have me dead on record in one state, so that they could get a life insurance policy filled in that one state. So wow, someone's already committed life insurance fraud on me and even had me dead in one state. You would think that that is, a federal issue that someone could have already said something to me about, but they can't, because if they did, then this sex trafficker wouldn't be able to have my kid right now as easily as she does. So there's actually a long list of crimes, which I have slowly been listing off on YouTube here, since no one can read any of my Facebook posts about this. They just hurry up and have my stuff stolen, and they take over my accounts, and then they have those Facebook pages. They go through and they, I guess, mix up what I wrote, and they edit and fuck it all up to make it look like a retard wrote it. And then they shut it all down to where nobody can see it. So it's all locked into a vault where nobody can see. And the people who were watching all the while, who might have been trying to make reports for me or to try to get help for me, there either were never those people, or those people were ignored. I can't say that anyone ever spoke up for me. I can say that I heard that people spoke up for me, but apparently nobody really either put that hard of effort into it, or nobody was loud enough, clear enough. And then there's that same question, like, if you were so willing to risk your life to speak up for me, then why aren't you, accompanying me or assisting me some way physically? How are you guys just going to say that you spoke up for me, but that's it? You didn't actually care whether or not I survived to show up for me in any way, or to render any assistance. You couldn't even have anybody else secondarily render assistance in some way. I had to just remain on the streets being hunted almost every bit of this way. I mean, you guys saw that. You guys saw me, sleeping outside, I holding signs, cardboard signs, so that I might be able to go in and get my own food that's not poisoned, so that I can continue to eat, so that I can continue to live. Just all the reports that I've made, every way that I've spoken out, everything that I've done. And really, if everybody is going to use the fact that this or that government contracts, montracts, I don't give a fuck. Like, this should not be happening to any child anywhere. If you ever wanted me to die, the way that it sounds like you did, the first thing that you probably shouldn't have done was make me feel like that my children were under threat. Because it's obvious to me that no one is going to speak up for my kids other than me. And nobody's going to care enough about it to save their lives other than me. I've already done that about 1,000,000 times. So this is me on here really putting it out there, trying to do that since I've been ignored for so long. This is not the first and only video that I'm making about this. This is just going to be the first one. And then I have plenty of other topics still to let everybody know about. My phone was shut off, so I can't make the phone call reports that I need to make, which this happens almost every time that my phone is shut off. It's part of the reason why no one allows me to have access to money at all, because they would prefer that, you know, I lived in a situation where, you know, I don't have phone service, I can't get my hair cut, you know, I can't afford an attorney, I can't, I can't drive a car. I can't have my own driver's license. I have to depend on other people. You know, I'm supposed to just depend on other people for things. Um, it's absolutely horrific, actually. But anyways, I know that this video is going to take a second to upload, and I don't want to burn myself out energy wise. I want to be able to upload a few more videos about this today so that people have more information about how and why my kid ended up with pedophile sex traffickers, and how I've spent years trying to prevent that. And people want to pretend that it wasn't preventable. When someone you guys have deemed as like a, you guys decided that I was psychic. The feds, people, what the military, the feds, you guys are the ones who decided that I was psychic. I started to tell you guys when I was 33 years old about the plans that my family had for my kids. And you guys want to just continue to play like I didn't give you a heads up that early on. All I've been doing is giving you a heads up. I've told you guys every step of the way what the plans are, and you guys allowed the bad guys to actually do exactly what they were planning on doing. I've spent the entire time speaking up, the entire time, and it's been one long, drawn out, continual report that, as far as I'm concerned, is being ignored. They do have people online who they're telling me about how help is on the way. They've been telling me that for over 2 years. They're telling me that I'm going to get justice, that people know what's happening to me, that everything's going to be all right, blah, blah, blah. Everything is not all right. You guys, as far as I'm concerned, are, you tell me some truth along the way, but my kid is currently with sex traffickers. That's the most important thing in the whole situation. You guys apparently, you're not really that concerned with investigating a murder for hire situation. I listed off over 150 people who were a part of the murder for hire campaign against me and have been for the last 15 years, give or take. Those people are still walking around, able to say and do anything that they want. There's people who I made serious reports about rape, about illegal pornography, about, pretty serious stuff. I've even made several CPS reports about other people who are making child pornography and who are part of a child sex trafficking ring. All of those people are still out here able to do whatever they want. Their kids still live with them. Literally, one of the people who I made a report about, they are living down by the river with their little kid still, who is the kid that they set me up to find pictures of. You know what I mean? And I turned that information in. I literally called Child Protective Services and told them that this person had child pornography, and he still has his kid. I called Elkins Police Department several days ago, and I asked if I could make a report about someone having child pornography. They told me an officer would call me back. An officer never called me back. Like, I cannot express to you how far out of the way all of these people go not to accept reports, not to make reports for me, not to accept any information that I give them. They've all gone above and beyond trying to ignore me and trying to pretend that I don't exist. So this is my report that I'm making to the whole world, because I feel that I'm being completely ignored. As I said, this is not the only video that I plan to make about this, but this will, this is about this. I do want to make some more spirit videos like I made yesterday. But this has been pretty important. This is actually, the most important earthly thing in my life, and people know about that. And I know that part of the reason why they've chosen to ignore me is just to bully me. Yeah. So that's really been terrible. I do plan on suing basically everyone in this entire situation for allowing this to happen. Yeah, as anyone would. Because as I said, I spoke up a million times and you guys you guys failed to prevent the kid from going to sex traffickers. So, that's on you guys. All right, thanks. If people want to actually take action now, it'd be really cool if you'd pull my kid out of the sex trafficker's house. I don't care who says who went where and questioned who. I didn't see that with my own eyes, and I know full well about all of the corruption. So I'm going to continue to do what I know is right and stand up and speak up for my kid who his life actually does need saved. All right. Thanks, you guys.